Hello, friends. Shelby and I are in the woods having our walk. And I'm actually going to turn the camera around so that you can see the beauty that I'm seeing. Well, I would say that we're seeing, but she's nose to the ground, so all she's seeing is pinecone needles and detritus. So it's a beautiful day, March 31st, and it's beautiful in the woods. And I was hoping maybe you would join me for a thought experiment. So the question is this. Well, what I'm going to ask you to think about is my reality. And I'm uncomfortable doing that because really it's almost impossible for anybody to truly know anybody else's reality. I don't know, we've lost sight of that. We think that other people should be more sympathetic to our feelings and our situation than anybody can be, because we're also honestly full just living our own lives. But just for a couple of minutes, I'm going to ask you to try to see the world through somebody else's eyes. And the reason for that is because I think I've come to the point where I feel as if asking for help is in order, because I want to move forward and seem to not have some of the necessary, skills. And anyway, the point is that I think I've just come to the point where I'm sure enough in my purpose and in my vision that I know that asking for help is asking for help for the right reasons, and that it's necessary and important, and that to not ask for help is actually hubris, and hubris is the number one reason I think why most people are suffering, why the world is going to hell in a handbasket, is because we all carry our pride in front of us like a shield, and I understand why. I know that I do. We're afraid of being hurt, we're afraid of being judged, we're afraid of being abandoned or exiled, and all that. So, or we just don't have the patience to put up with other people's criticism or whatever. And so, but the thing is that I just don't think that we can get to where we want to get, which I hope we want to get, which is to say a better tomorrow, without obviously changing a great deal of who we are. And that's my purpose, and that's my goal, is to be part of that revolution. It's a positive revolution, it's a loving revolution, but it is a revolution, and it does need to take place, because if it does not, then we are in for some very dark days. And so, and I want to tell you why I say that, and that's the looking at the world through my eyes part. If you can pretend for a minute that we're walking on a very long road, and it's just a straight road, and we're all at different places on that road. And the way that I see us is that we're all responsible for the one in front of us and the one behind us on the path. And in that way, nobody's any better than anybody else. We're all just moving along this path. Well, some of us are a little impatient and a little ADD or whatever it is. With me, it's all that. I'm just also, I think that my soul knew that I needed seasoning and tempering and education and grit. And so I went on up ahead, is what I'm saying. And experienced the world that we're headed for. And I don't know any better way to put it, because most days I feel like humans are amazing and fabulous and wonderful, and we're going to be just fine. And then other days I feel like, oh my God, are there any humans out there? And I want to tell you that the place that we're headed is void of humans. There are no humans there, and the reason is because we're becoming ever more survival-based creatures of survival, and I find that to be very unfortunate because we've made a lot of progress, all of us, and what we're doing by surrendering to the tyranny of marginalized people. No, don't get me wrong. I'm white trash, bipolar, with criminal record, and my teeth are falling out because I didn't have any dental care when I was a kid. And I understand marginalization, I really do. The bottom line is that the marginalized are pulling at the seams of society, of the world, basically, of mankind. The seams that were holding us together, and they're unraveling. And my unique perspective is that, at least it's unique to me, is that the hell that we're headed towards, the hell that we create when we act the way that we're acting, is one built on, well, selfishness very much, just because it's survival. It's very self-motivated. It's very, what can I get? And also a world that is not based on integrity or honor is not a pleasant place to be. I promise you that we are not going to like it there. I watched a documentary yesterday about the co-founder of Reddit, and it broke my heart. Aaron Schwartz. I cried, and I thought to myself, at one point, his former girlfriend was talking about how she's so angry because we've allowed ourselves to get to this place. And what she meant was, the government came down on him like a ton of bricks, and it was completely uncalled for. They were trying to make an example out of him, yada yada yada. You should go watch it, it's amazing. And I was really impressed and proud of the people who were making the documentary film, because there's obviously some serious there's obviously some serious angst surrounding this situation, and so I was really glad that they went ahead and made this documentary. But she was talking about how angry she is, and I recognized the way that I felt like 5 years ago when I was in the thick of this really dysfunctional, toxic, chaotic world of it's the underbelly, it's the underbelly of the world. And that's where the disenfranchised go, and that's where the disenfranchised live. And that's where homeless people live, and that's where the severely addicted and the mentally ill, who we're not taking care of like we should, and that's the world that they occupy. They're not safe, and they turn into animals. And I just saw something about Seattle paying for giving them a motel or something, and I'm thinking, that's not going to work, because we don't know. Well, for one thing, they're just going to trash it. I mean, I've let homeless people live with me before, and until they become human again, they're not fit for. They just aren't, because they don't have any respect or regard, because they haven't been living as humans. It's too much survival. I'm not trying to say anything, except it's just the damn truth. I let a couple move into my barn, and my son had just put carpet down and stuff, and they ruined it. They lived there, I guess, a year, and holes in the carpet, and it's terrible. It burned holes in the carpet, and I learned my lesson. That's what you have to do. And, but I had to do that several times before I learned my lesson, but I have now. And I'm going at this from a different angle. But more importantly, the first, know that I need to get myself, well, first and maybe only, but I can't help anybody when I'm a hot mess is the bottom line. And I was, obviously. And so, seeing the world through my eyes is just that I wish that I could find a way to put my vision into other people's heads when I walk around or when I look at the world in any capacity. What I see sometimes, not always, but I see sometimes right over the top of whatever beautiful scene that kids are playing and laughing and they're on swings, and all of a sudden I see that scene from Terminator, after the nuclear explosion, and it's the park, and if you haven't seen it, so because it's a very real threat. It's a very real threat. We don't know how real of a threat it is. The doomsday clock is set to below 100 seconds for the first time ever, and that's one of the reasons. It's because nuclear weapons and increasing greed and corruption and insanity. And in the olden days when a king went insane, there was only so much harm that he could do. But we've got leaders in power that are, half dead. Joe Biden. He's not really in power, he's a figurehead, but the point is that it's just scary. It's just scary. There's other countries that have nuclear weapons, and then this new weapon that they're talking about that $3 trillion or some shit. And I just want to say, we don't need any of that shit. What we need is universal health care. And we need to make amends. We need to make things right we need to be sorry, and we need to acknowledge what has been done in the name of this country. All of us, every single one of us. I don't care what color your skin is, because whatever your color your skin is, you have a little of this and a little of that, and none of this is all any one thing. And we can't figure all that out anyway. So I suggest we just don't try. I'm sorry, but it gives me a headache. I think we could just agree that we're all fucked up. We'll all fuck up again. Shall we stop being stubborn? And honestly, at the end of the day, I don't know about you, but the people that have hurt me the most look a lot like me. My family. I forgave them, so I can forgive you. And you can forgive me. And if we forgive each other, we can go forward. And we can save ourselves from a nuclear winter, or from worsening decay of our foundation under our feet. We're losing civil liberties like they're up on auction. And, that's just kind of happening quietly. I don't think most people are really even aware, because I know that I'm not, really. And it's terrifying. We're not going to have any freedom left if we don't pull our heads out of our butts and start paying attention. So, paying attention, I guess, is what I'm talking about, is that I can't help anymore but see all the myriad ways that we're trying to destroy ourselves because we're ashamed and we're hurting and we're confused. And there's only one solution for that. We just have to heal. We have to heal the wounds, and we have to help each other to heal. And we have to agree that that's more important than anything else, and that we want to go on, that we don't want to sink back into the dark ages, which is what's going to happen. People are going along, moving the deck chairs on the Titanic, but it's getting really ugly out there. And Corona might have taught us something about how weak our infrastructure is, but I don't think it has. And I think the reason is because, again, survival. We're all just so caught up in our own misery. We just can't, we don't have the capacity to see outside of ourselves, and everybody's getting mad at everybody else about, why don't you care about me, why don't you care about me? Well, people can't even see each other. They don't know how you feel. And I know myself, I know what I've done with my life, and I know what I haven't done, and I know how I've acted towards people, and I know what I've embraced and the principles and the values that I've instilled in my children. And 8 kids, and there isn't a racist among them. They're all just good, decent people who give everybody a shot. And that's the direction that we were going in. And I would like to get back on that path. I think that that's possible. And I think if we don't, then we're done, really. And I think if we don't, then we deserve to be done. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'd like to stop seeing the world through these eyes. But I don't think that I can, because I think that I haven't properly communicated yet the direness of our situation. And it's not being shared adequately because it's a bureaucratic clusterfuck. And nobody talks to anybody, and nobody wants anybody else to know anything. And so when I was doing all the research to try to figure out how to live with a head injury and live, how to not have early onset dementia, which is what's happening to me. Shelly. And then once I started learning, I couldn't stop, because I was like, wait, why weren't we taught any of this? And so, I said to my son at one point, we were talking, and I said, I don't understand why we aren't taught about ourselves in school. Why we aren't taught about our brains and about interpersonal dynamics, like the way all that actually works. People are not stupid. People are very smart. People can understand this stuff. If I can understand it, anybody can understand it. And I said, I don't understand. We need to be teaching this stuff in schools. And, we wouldn't need all these medications, and we wouldn't be so confused, and we wouldn't feel so powerless if we understood how our bodies work, how our minds work, and how the interplay between people works, and how, just how the world works. It's not that complicated. It's just that we didn't, we grew up and we were told this, that, and the other thing, shoved this direction, that direction, and that's all we knew. What else are we going to know? How else are we going to make sense of the world other than the way that we were told to? And so we went along making sense out of the world that way, and not making sense, and bungling and, banging into each other. And then, and the irony is that only the shameless survive, because they don't give a fuck, right? Like people like me, I feel acutely my mistakes. I feel my failures. I feel my the betrayals that I feel like I've perpetrated on the world. I feel them. I care. I hurt. And I feel bad. And so those of us who feel that way, we're kind of beating ourselves up. And I was really self-destructive. Now we're all self-destructive. That's all that's happening. And the shameless, they don't give a shit. So they're just busy raking in the dough. And I just think that we can't stop them if we have our heads up our own butts, or up each other's butts, or So, and they need to be stopped. They want to be stopped. They know they're out of line. They know they're out of control. But they're not going to stop if we don't make them. But we can make them. We absolutely can. We just got to take our power back. And I know this because I had to do this in my own damn house. I said yes, sir, for so long. I was just trying to keep the peace. And one day I woke up, I didn't have shit for power. No personal power. No power to change, or to disagree, or to dissent, or to change a policy, or demand that we look at something differently, or I didn't have the ability to